The US dollar's greatest power has nothing to do with America's military, its economy, or even its government. It was built on oil deals made in secret, and right now, that foundation is cracking. If you want to understand how global power actually works, not the version they teach in school, subscribe right now. We break down the real mechanics behind the headlines every single week. Here's what the petrodollar actually is, stripped of all the conspiracy theory noise. When countries buy oil on international markets, they pay in US dollars. That single arrangement quietly forces every nation on Earth to hold dollars in reserve. Because everyone needs energy, and energy costs dollars. That demand props up American debt, funds American deficits, and gives Washington the terrifying ability to weaponize the financial system through sanctions, essentially locking countries out of the global economy with a phone call. No bombs required, no troops deployed, just a decision made in Washington that can overnight freeze a nation's ability to conduct international trade. But here's where it gets genuinely interesting. The real engine behind the petrodollar wasn't just oil pricing. It was a secret agreement signed between the United States and Saudi Arabia in 1974. The deal was elegant in its ruthlessness. The Saudis would take their mountains of oil revenue and funnel them straight back into U.S. government bonds, treasuries. In exchange, America provided an implicit security guarantee. Saudi Arabia became America's ATM, and America became Saudi Arabia's bodyguard. This mechanism, called petrodollar recycling, is what truly cemented the dollar as the world's reserve currency, not just because you needed dollars for oil, but because those dollars kept flowing back into American debt, creating an almost self-sustaining cycle of demand. A financial perpetual motion machine, elegant, invisible, and extraordinarily powerful. That cycle is now breaking down, quietly, structurally, and almost irreversibly. The Saudis aren't recycling petrodollars into treasuries the way they used to, because they're actually spending their money now. Vision 2030, domestic infrastructure, economic diversification. Riyadh has transformed from a nation sitting on endless surpluses into one running fiscal deficits. The spare cash that once flooded back into American bonds has dried up, and the exporters who still have surpluses? They're buying fewer treasuries than ever. Meanwhile, China has been quietly signing oil trading agreements with Gulf states, denominated not in dollars, but in yuan. These aren't headline-grabbing events. They're small, incremental shifts, but they are shifts. And in global finance, small structural shifts compound over decades into tectonic transformations. The smoking gun appeared recently in the bond markets. Historically, during oil crises, treasuries surge as the safest asset in the world. Money floods in, yields drop. This time, the opposite happened. Treasury yields rose sharply, suggesting that the old reflex, oil crisis equals treasuries rally, is simply no longer functioning the way it once did. That inversion is not a minor technical anomaly. It is a signal. The market is quietly repricing what American debt actually means in a world where the petrodollar recycling machine has slowed to a crawl. But here's the critical distinction that most commentators miss completely. The petrodollar isn't dying because Iran or China is plotting against it. It's dying because American treasuries genuinely look less safe than they used to. A national debt that has ballooned beyond any historical precedent, combined with political interference in the Federal Reserve, has made the world's supposed safest asset feel considerably less safe. The petrodollar's decline is a symptom of American fiscal credibility eroding, not the cause of it. And that distinction matters enormously, because if the problem were simply geopolitical rivals pricing oil in other currencies, America could respond with diplomacy, pressure, or military presence, tools it has used effectively for decades. But you cannot sanction your own balance sheet. You cannot deploy aircraft carriers against your own debt ceiling. The threat is internal, and internal threats are always the hardest to confront because they require a nation to look honestly at itself. Two completely different problems. One gets all the dramatic headlines. The other is the one that actually matters. The world isn't abandoning the dollar because it hates America. It's quietly hedging against it because it's watching America make choices that no reserve currency nation has ever survived making indefinitely. History is littered with currencies that once seemed permanent: the British pound, the Dutch guilder, the Spanish real. Every single one of them looked unshakable, right up until the moment it wasn't. The dollar may not collapse tomorrow, or next year, or even this decade, but the architecture holding it up is being quietly dismantled. One oil deal, one treasury sale, and one deficit at a time. So here's your question for the comments. What do you think actually threatens the dollar's reserve status most? Is it A, oil being priced in other currencies like the yuan? B, America's exploding national debt destroying treasury credibility? Or C, geopolitical rivals like China and Russia building parallel financial systems? Drop your answer below.